because I got to 100K recently, I decided to open a giveaway for 10 people for me to evaluate their videos, see their strengths, weaknesses, something they can improve on, all of that. Now, unfortunately, this giveaway is now closed, but maybe for like 200K we'll do another giveaway, so subscribe if you aren't already. You guys, I really wish I could, but I can't evaluate every single one of you guys, but one way you can make sure that I do evaluate you is that you can join my new course, and for November there are new benefits that are different from October. So the first thing is that there's unlisted videos, which means you get early access to all of my videos. And second thing is that I invite you to a group chat where basically you can communicate with other people that are in my course, other people who are wanting to audition, and kind of share information. I looked through every single video that was submitted through the Google form, and here's some comment tips that I have for everyone, not just the people that I'm evaluating today, but the general things that I saw. So the first thing is only applicable for the dancing category, but your entire body should be shown at all times. So whatever 30 seconds or a minute, your entire body should be showing, and you shouldn't only show your face, only, your body, nothing like that, entire body. And just for both categories, if I'm struggling to see your facial expressions in any way because it's like dark lighting, it means that you need to change it around. Maybe the sun is facing away from you, so maybe you want to position camera the other way so that your face is always showing and your expressions are clear to the judges. And last tip for everyone, basically, stop using overused song, guys. If you know this song is popular, you know that it's like trendy these days, or some dance moves are trending that are in the dance, you want to avoid that. Same thing for singing as well. If it's trendy, then avoid it. Like, do you guys know how many times I saw people dance to Hype Boy? It was crazy. And now let's go on to the first person, who is Ash, and she is singing Me Gusta Too by G-Friend.
바람에는 빌가른 꽃집처럼 밀어낼 수가 없잖아. 이제는 용기 내서 고백할게요. 하나보단 둘이서 서로를 느껴봐요. 나는 모아서 나에게 전하고 싶어. 설레임은 오늘부터 우리는 꿈꾸며 인도하는 오늘부터 우리는 찬바람에 빛난 맘이 실어버릴게. 우리는 마음이 모여서 내리는.
So right now she's only using head voice or at times mixed voice, which is definitely not something you should do. You want to always go for chest voice or even sometimes mixed voice. You're also almost like whispering in a way that makes you sound very wispy and weak in a sense, and it doesn't truly show your vocal tones, which is what you want to show to the judges, that you have a nice vocal color, that your tone is really nice and kind of out there, you have volume, and you're not really showing that at the moment. I don't know if I'm saying you or she. Let's just go with you. So along with that, your breathing is very audible. So what does this mean? I can kind of pinpoint where you're breathing, and it seems a little picky, to be honest, right? But really it is important because you want to show that you're kind of breathing very like softly and almost unnoticeable. It's kind of what you're trying to get at. Obviously it's a little impossible if you're trying to do that from the start, but you don't want to be like and then go on to the next one. And kind of adding on to the wispy, weak kind of voice, you're also struggling with your high notes because you're entirely relying on your head voice, and kind of moving on from that, I guess, like continuously using head voice is going to deteriorate your voice, but it's also a little bit more difficult to get your true head voice out there with a high note, if that makes sense. It's just going to be harder for yourself. Just use chest voice, and if you can't hit that note with a chest voice, you probably want to choose another song that is within your range. And make sure to make eye contact with the camera at all times. I mean, you can kind of do that sometimes, but majority of the video you want to have eye contact. Right now you're just kind of like looking like that, and that's not what you want to show, because you want to show your facial expressions. You're not going to have a connection with the listeners, the judges essentially, if you cannot make eye contact with them initially. You want to show your expressions, you want to show that stage presence, which yes, it is possible to have stage presence with just singing as well. Now, the things that she asked for, I'm going to address them specifically. So the first thing is Korean pronunciation. That's kind of ironic that I mispronounced pronunciation. I would actually say that your pronunciation for Korean words is actually one of your strengths. It's quite good, yeah, but I would add a little bit more emphasis on specific words. Right now you're kind of loosening them out and making them a little bit more fluid, but you want to give more emphasis on each word. Obviously don't like overemphasize them, but you get what I mean. And then the next thing that she asked for is intonation. So kind of like what I said, intonation really changes when you move on to chest voice. So I would really have to see your true voice with chest voice because intonation is a little hard to tell when it comes to head voice. Okay, so now moving on to the second person, who is Pavritra, and she is singing Irreplaceable by Beyonce.
To the left, standing in the front yard. Tell me how I'm such a fool. Talking about how I'll never ever find a man like you. You got me twisted. You must not know about me. You must not know about me. I can never know that by tomorrow. So don't you ever for a second get to thinking irreplaceable.
So one thing that really stands out about her is that her stage presence is really there. This is kind of what I meant for stage presence with singing. You kind of have to seem like you really enjoy singing, that you really like the song, and you kind of relate to the lyrics almost. And she does a good example of that. Obviously it's not perfect, but I can definitely tell that she's enjoying singing. Now this is what I do for all of my course members. I specifically call out the timestamps, which I can't really do right now because I don't know which timestamp it's going to be when it's included in the video, but I'm going to reference the specific lyrics and some things that you need to work on that. So the first thing is got you thinking. It kind of sounds like you're struggling to catch your breath. Again, that breathing thing. So make sure to plan ahead. If it helps, write down at which parts you're going to breathe so that you're kind of prepared in advance and it doesn't kind of catch you off guard. And this is more of like an extra thing that you can do. You don't have to do it, but I would add a little bit more groove to You Must Not Know About Me. So like you can almost sway with the lyrics, like you must not know about me, and then kind of like swing to it, have a little jazzy feel. And for the very last word, I would add a lot more emphasis and power. So when you're saying irreplaceable, you want to have it a little bit more emphasized because that's the last thing the judges are going to hear from you. So you want to make sure to do it with a lot of impact and a little bit more volume than what you had originally. And what she asked for specifically was just vocals, very specific. I mean, I would just say to add a little bit more power and almost like sass, if that's even a word. So, I mean, it is a word, but yeah, that's what I would do. But otherwise, there's not too many things that you need to work on currently. Okay, and the third person is Vanessa, and she is dancing to Power Up by Red Velvet. Now for her dancing, I actually see a lot of potential for stage presence, but it's not quite there yet, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the evaluation. But the first thing that I want to talk about is kind of like the details of the choreography. Yes, you have the general moves down, but sometimes you are shortcutting the moves. So what does this mean? I feel like I'm gonna actually have to show it because I do know the choreo. So when it goes, that's like the original choreo, but you're kind of just going like that instead of adding more detail as to what the original choreo has. So don't shortcut it, make sure to add every single detail because all these details later add up to be the actual choreography. And one more part that I want to reference is the banana part, the ba-banana, ba-ba-banana, but this part has to be more detailed as well. Make sure you're catching every single wave that's in the actual choreography. Don't make up your own moves, don't like lessen the moves, which is kind of what you're doing right now. And now this choreo specifically asks for a lot of hip movements. So you've really got to engage with your hip choreography and add a little bit more emphasis. Okay, so the things that she specifically asked for is firstly stage presence. So like I said, there's potential, or not stage presence, facial expressions. Did I say that? I don't know. Facial expressions, same thing basically. So right now you're just kind of smiling, which I feel like is definitely not enough. You need to add more stage presence by actually lip syncing to the lyrics and adding more diverse facial expressions that match the actual concept of the choreography or the concept of the song essentially. And just smiling is not going to be enough, although it does match with the concept. You've got to add more expressions to it. And if you want inspiration, you can always check out the original artists themselves. And the next thing that she requested for is form, which we kind of already talked about. And then the last thing is how the movements flow. So I would say that you're more on the stiff side than fluid. And that's just something that you need to work on. I would add much more fluidity to your moves because that's kind of how the original choreography presents itself. You need to have a little bit more loosening, I guess, and it's not that like power oriented, so I feel like that's a little bit easier on that side. The next person is Samvel, and he is singing to Beautiful by Crush.
It's beautiful life, beautiful day. 너의 기억엔 내가 살 텐데. Beautiful life, beautiful day. 내 곁에서만 몰아줘. Beautiful my life, beautiful your heart.
So one small thing that has nothing to do with singing, but make sure your phone or whatever you're recording with is on like a table, kind of like this, and it's stable so that you're not holding it and it's almost like a selfie because that's not what you want. It doesn't really seem professional as well. Okay, so now moving on to the actual vocal aspect. So you do have an overall really nice tone, I feel like. You have a distinct color. But one thing that really stands out to me, in not so much of a positive way, would be that the transitions from one line to the next is a little bit off, and it kind of is not chunky, but it's not very smooth. So you might be asking, how can I actually do this? Well, the first way would be to hold the last notes of each line a little bit longer, because right now it kind of sounds like you're rushing to get to the next line, which is definitely not something that you want to do, especially for like a ballad song. So what you want to do is hold those notes for longer. Obviously go for the duration of the original song. Don't like make up your own line, I guess, but follow the tempo of the original song as well, because it's written like that for a reason. If it were meant to be faster, they would have made it that way, but that's not really the case, so slow it down a little bit. And a lot of people actually mistake transitions from one line to the next as a place where you can breathe. And yes, for some songs this is applicable, but if you do have the issue of making your transitions not as smooth, then this is definitely not what you want to do. So after you're done singing one line, you don't want to breathe and then move on to the next. You want to kind of squeeze a breathe in the middle of a line. Wherever that may be, that's kind of up to you and what feels more natural to you, but you definitely don't want to breathe in the middle of there because it's just going to cut up that transition. It's not really going to sound good, because really your goal is to make these songs sound like one fluid kind of thing, right? Especially for a ballad. And to be honest, I wasn't familiar with the original song, but I could still feel that you were rushing the tempo, so make sure to fix that up and just follow the tempo of the original song. And the very last thing is to just recognize that this is a ballad song, which means that you need to have a touch of softness, a little bit more lightness to it. Right now, there isn't that much softness, so I would definitely work on that to make your voice sound a little bit more approachable, because you really do have a good color tone and you want to showcase that in the best manner possible. And the very last person that we're going to be looking at today is Shristy, and she is dancing to Pink Venom by Blackpink. I'm sure we all guessed it. Overused choreography. Yes, literally any Blackpink song could be counted as an overrated singing choice or a dancing choice just because they're popular. So you generally want to avoid that. And we love the Inkigayo camera work, but it's gotta go, because we're not trying to showcase our editing skills or our camera work skills. We're trying to showcase the best dancing skills in this case. Like, it should never be cut 10 different times in a 30-second video. That's not what's ideal. You want to have the camera just set in front of you in a stable way, like I mentioned before, and just dance to the entire song from start to finish without any cuts. Because these pauses can be a little bit suspicious to the judges too. They might be like, oh, can she not memorize the choreography? Or they might be like, can she not fully dance to a song from start to finish is my... I can't talk. And for a lot of the moves, you're actually rushing the tempo, so you're a little bit earlier all of the times. So make sure you're right on the beat, and who knows, maybe that has to do with the editing too, so just play the music, dance to it, and do it on beat. If it helps, do it with the metronome, but I feel like that works better with singing rather than dancing. For dancing, it's a little bit easier to actually follow the beat of the music itself. And one thing that I did notice, even though it was kind of hard to tell because the video was kind of all over the place, but your moves generally look a little bit messy almost if I were to exaggerate it, and they don't look very clear or direct, which is definitely an issue because you want to have your moves very straightforward and kind of like with clarity. I feel like it's a hard thing to explain, but I'm sure you guys get it. Make sure your arm and leg movements are always matching and it's always following the beat of the music. Make sure you know when you're actually ending your move and then, you know, move on to the next. And make all of your moves with power, with a little bit more emphasis as well. So that is all of the 5 people that we are evaluating today, and the rest of the 5 people will probably be uploaded on Wednesday, I want to say. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Bye bye.